Vitaly. I'm a Russian guy working in London, in Badoo, huge dating website and applications like dating web service and app service. So I'm going to be talking about a process of going from a team lead to from a developer to a team lead, and all the peculiar things that I witnessed, experienced, and realized during this transition. So first, a few words about me. I'm 32 now, and I'm leading a team of 11 developers in mobile web in Badoo. And what brought me here? So it was a huge journey for almost 15 years. And I've been working in this industry for almost, as I've said, 15 years. Started in year 2000 doing client-side work. Started with IE6, Opera 7, and supporting all the interesting stuff there. And then I had server-side experience, worked with PHP 4, PHP 5, ASP.NET MVC with C#, ASP.NET Forms with C#, just pretty much everything, even ASP Classic, which was VBScript, and it was awful. Also, I built an interesting integrated system where we had ActiveX with IE, being a corporate browser in that company, and a few hardware things like barcode readers, passport scanners, label printers, just everything. So it was like an interesting project for me. I also built a network with failover support, which was united geographically distributed offices across UK and Moscow in Russia. So I had lots of experience with pretty much everything, but my love was always with front end. So the first place where I worked, it was a British company, Real Russia. It was providing inbound tourism services to Russia for UK nationals. And I was a first developer there, so I was doing pretty much everything, as I've said. And then eventually we had to expand, so we had to hire more people, and who would do that? Of course, me. So I was hiring people, and I was lucky enough, or maybe unlucky, that I was hiring people who were really like me in everything, like personality type, attitude to work, proactive approach, will and challenge motivation. So just everything was similar to what I have. And I was young at the time. I wasn't sure if being a team lead was my thing, so I decided to go to what I loved more, to JavaScript. So I decided to relocate to Moscow, to the capital of Russia, and I joined a huge company, Mail.ru, which is like 2,000 employees, I think. Again, starting from scratch, from just JavaScript developer position. After 2 years there, I was leading a small team of 2 developers, so again, it was evolution, so I had to hire people, I had to expand the team, but the atmosphere of the project wasn't fitting me well, so I thought maybe I should try it again. So I joined Badoo in March 2015 as a JavaScript developer, starting everything from scratch, once again. And in 6 or 7 months, I became a team lead and I relocated to London. And that's what brought me eventually to this. So, again, team lead in 3 different companies. So I've been telling you my story, but I'm sure I'm not alone on this path. I think that lots of developers face this question at some point. Should I become a team lead? Like, what's going to be involved in this? What problems will you face? What issues can you have? Demotivations, motivations, everything. So, first thing is that everyone is different. It's trivial but true. So when I was working in the first company in Real Russia, my intuition failed me because I was hiring people who were really like me in everything. I thought that I could treat everyone in all the teams like they're the same. So all the guys with whom I worked, they were the same as me. And it was really easy for me to work with them. There was no challenge. I don't know, everything was just the same. I could give them a task and they would develop it in the same way how I would do it. And, but now, if you work with different people, and as I'm working with different people now, and finally understand that you have to be treating everyone really differently. So if you're, for example, pushing one guy, trying to get him to be more productive and demanding more from him, and really, really pushing him hard, if he's challenge motivated, it's really easy for him to survive in these conditions and to strive and to become better, to grow. He will ask you for help, he will ask you for more responsibilities, for more information, and he'll be just learning and growing fast. But if you apply even the half of this force to a guy who is maybe not softer, but just different, having different personality type, he will collapse. He'll think, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not achieving what I'm expected to achieve. It's going to be very hard for him. He will become demotivated, potentially quit, well, or at least he will be demotivated. And so I had to grasp this idea that everyone is different. In my team, we have developers of many cultures and nationalities. We have Indian, Italian, hello Cristiano, have Russians, we have a Portuguese guy, French, Spanish, like 7 different cultures. And it's intuitively easy to understand that people from different cultures are different. But even within one culture, everyone is so much different. You see completely different people and you have to treat them differently. But the main thing here is not that you have to understand it, but also you have to explain it to your team, to your guys, that everyone is different and you can't expect someone to behave in the very same way as you're behaving. You can't expect him to be as proactive or reactive as you are. It's just everyone is different. And so with this one, there are interesting cases. For example, if one developer is a really solid and good reviewer, he enjoys getting into details, diving deep into a task and spending lots of time on understanding how this task works, how this code works, how it should be done properly, maybe something could have been done better. What can you do? You can either, you know that he spends lots of time on it. You can either force himself to change or, I don't know, demand him not to do this anymore. Or you can leverage this as his strength and only use this strength for certain issues that really require so much attention and so much time. So it's very hard to understand that you have to find these strengths and not try to have everyone working in the same boundaries, but it works. And so it's always a balance between goals and motivations. So you first have to understand what goals your project has, like performance, good quality of code and everything. And then you try to find how people in your team are motivated with what and how to actually work with them and divide load on them properly. So yeah, just leveraging the strengths. Then the next thing that you have to realize that you're not alone and still you're alone. So when you're a developer, you're responsible only for your actions and your results. And when you're a team lead, you're not. You are like a combined unit. You're not alone. You're not a separate unit of functionality just doing something, planning your work, delivering, and forgetting about this thing or supporting it for more time. So it's you who represent the team for upper management, for other different teams, for everyone, for your employees as well. And another interesting thing is that team results are finally your results, which is very, very strange. So that the first time I was submitting my monthly self-assessment, the thing that we do like to show upper management what we achieved during the month, I was putting like 20 product features delivered. And it was so strange, as if I coded them, as if I put them on production. But no, actually it was the team, but actually it's your results as well. So your work is to support the team to do this, but then it's kind of your results as well. And so another thing is that same goes for problems. So if upper management asks you why we have this bug on production, you can't say, oh, it's Alice or Bob who, I don't know, introduced the bug to the code. They don't care, they don't have to care. It's your responsibility that there is this problem on production, and you have to deal with this. And of course, it might be a challenge or a burden depending how you perceive it. And again, it comes down to trust. Can you actually trust your people to do this and to be responsible for their results for everyone? Yeah, your ass gets kicked. Second strange thing, that when you're a developer, you're used to having one or a few roots of uncertainties, like I don't know, browser issues or device-specific issues in mobile web, for example. But then, when you're becoming a team lead, you face this. It's a huge root of uncertainty that humans are not robots. You can't expect every human to be just the same during the whole time. You can't expect everyone to be the same. And people can get sick, demotivated, motivated, productive, burning out, going to vacation suddenly because they have some family issues or something like that. And as you're responsible for the team, you still have to maintain productivity, which is a very hard thing to grasp, that you are responsible for the results, but you can't demand everyone to be robots. You can't make people robots. So you have to understand that you will have this root of uncertainty and grasp this. Yeah, so it's just not possible to control everything. And the third thing you face is lack of knowledge. So as soon as you just start reading about management, just start about it, you understand how deep the rabbit hole is. It's like petabytes of data, courses, videos, books, just everything. How do you even find what to learn, where to learn from? And you don't know anything about management, and yet you have to be productive. To me, it sounds like it's another set of uncertainty. So you have to grasp this idea once again that you don't know enough, you can't control people properly, well, not properly, you can't expect them to be robots, and you still have to be productive somehow. And yeah, that's it. Next one is lack of skills. So as soon as you have worked with people for at least some time, you understand that you have to develop empathy or embrace it if you have it already, because you have to be filtering pretty much everything what's going on in the team. You have to be a filter or a proxy for what's going on inside and outside. You have to control the atmosphere or it will be chaos. You are responsible for this. You are responsible for having a comfortable environment for the developers to become better and to work harder. And this responsibility is very hard to achieve without a strong will. So if you're, during your childhood, for example, was naturally a leader, you were gathering companies around you, you were a soul of a company or companies, it's much easier. But if you weren't like that, if you were a bit more passive, I don't know, something else stopped you from being this, or just different personality type, it's going to be very hard for you to change. I don't know if it's unachievable or it's achievable for everyone. I don't know, I'm just saying that it's going to be hard. So you have to be really strong. And another problem with this is related somehow to the previous slide with lack of knowledge, where to learn. So we had, in Badu, we had this management courses, situational management courses. I highly recommend to start just with them. They give a very pragmatic set of tools, how to understand motivation, how to understand different people, employees' personality types, how to deal with different situations for different people. They're very pragmatic, it's pretty small, quite good to start with. And with a lack of knowledge, skills, and certainty, you have a lack of time. You will always have a lack of time. You will never have time to do everything. That's just another thing to grasp, understand, and remember. You have requests from other teams, requests from upper management, loads of interruptions. You're not a developer anymore. You can't just predict how much time you will spend on dealing with interruptions. And you are supporting the team and the processes. If you want to work with motivation, you will always have regular meetings with your developers. Like, for example, we do it every 2 weeks, one-on-one meeting with every developer. So you will have meetings like that. You will have meetings with managers. You will have pre-development meetings. We call them kickoff meetings. You will have meetings after development to confirm with the managers that this code can be going to production. They agree that this is okay. So just the process here, like you might see this calendar, it's Monday and Tuesday, and just a few holes in the calendar to actually do any work that I want to do. Not support the process, but just any work. And just supporting this process will take time, will take lots of time. For example, for coding, I have almost 6 or 7 hours a week. All other things I have to fit in these holes. So I've got 11 people in my team now, and if our developers weren't that efficient, motivated, and good, I wouldn't be able to attend this conference, sleep enough, or even survive. And what's interesting is that all these processes take time. You can't do everything, so you have to delegate. And with delegation, there is a huge, interesting thing, well, actually 2 of them. First is trust. So, as I've said, humans are not robots. You can't expect everyone to be healthy all the time, not to go off sick, not to go to vacations, not to have any demotivation or burning out. So, you have to accept that there will be this risk of failure. You have to trust your people, you have to accept the risk of failure and still want to be productive. And another thing is technical. So you have to trust your team to be good in technical things. So, for example, if you were a good developer and then you started being a team lead, there is a chance that you might know some certain part of the application or the code or just the technology better than one of your developers. And you still want to give him this task. Just because you can't do it on your own, you have to help him to learn. You have to understand that he might fail, he might deliver it not on time, or he might deliver it in a lesser quality that you would have delivered. But still you have to do it. And with these two things, you have to understand that what it will be like for you when you have a failure. Will it be like, oh my God, I'm so stupid, why did I do this? Or will it be, okay, we failed here, what can we learn from this? What can we change in our processes, in our environment, in our architecture, everywhere, in the team, in the communication, anywhere, to not have this again? So this is very interesting. So you have to trust people and you have to be positive with the changes. And with all the interruptions, it's very hard to plan work. And I want to stress it again. Being a team lead is dealing with lots and lots of interruptions. You have phone calls, messenger, I don't know, email, people coming to your team, your developers escalating issues to you, upper management giving some new information or requirements for you. And this is really hard, and this is developing a very interesting pattern in your brain of having multiple contacts at the same time. So you have to switch between contacts easily. You have to preserve multiple contacts at the same time and to be able to switch between them easily. And then what's very interesting, that when you're then trying to focus on something, like you have your coding as well, you want to try to code something, and you're trying to focus on this thing. But your brain remembers the pattern of interruptions, and you constantly have this wish to check Facebook, check Messenger, check email, check something else, just because you have this urge to have more contacts in your brain. It's very hard to change back between these two types of work. And to me, it sounds like another thing just to grasp, just to accept that you won't have time, you will lack knowledge, you will lack skills, you will lack this, and that, you will have to delegate and accept the risk of failure. But to me, it's like a challenge. And whenever I do this, I enjoy it because I know that I can change something to a better way in me, in the guys with whom I work. Yeah, and this might potentially lead to working crazy hours. When I've joined, I had this issue. I think many developers or team leads have this issue. You want to get your results right now. I'm joining, I'm having a team, I want to do something right now. And you have this calendar, you have lots of other things to do. You have to somehow survive in this thing. So you can work 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours, whatever. You can work crazy hours in the weekend, and then you burn out. Then you have like a week of sick days, and then you start this vicious circle again. So if I was smart when I was doing this, when I was having this situation, I would stop this, I would prioritize better, and then I wouldn't burn out so much when I was just starting. Because ideally, I would have delegated things better. But it's just a lesson that I learned. And with lack of time, you always have to compromise. As I've said, you won't have time for everything, so you have to compromise somehow and choose the priorities for everything. There is well-known advice to sort to-do list, like urgent things, important things, and urgent plus important. So you start with urgent plus important, and then you go to others. But if your list of urgent plus important is so huge that you can't deal with it in reasonable time, what to do? So with time, working on a project, you always have, again, some pattern developed of understanding what is more important now, what has to be done right now, or what can be done later. But when you're just starting, I was following a very simple rule of less worst rule. So I thought, okay, I have two things to do. One thing will damage this something, and one thing would damage this something if I don't do them. So I was just choosing what would hurt less. And that worked for me. But again, with time, you develop this intuitive understanding what can be done better. Simple example, we have backlog grooming, a process with our QA team lead, where we filter new bugs coming to our queue to understand which of them should be of higher priority. So when we were just starting this, we always had PM on these meetings just to advise us on the priority. And he said, okay, this will hurt so many users and we'll have to do it right now, and this will hurt less users or in lesser way, so we can postpone it to do later. In a few months, we already understood what was the priority, like pattern recognition, and we do it now without him. So it's going to evolve. And once again, you have to be prepared to fail. It's not gonna work just when you start. You will have failures, but failures, if you accept them and if you are positive about them and if you're trying to find the reasons how you can, not the reasons, the ways how you can improve everything, it will be just good. It's like when you're a baby and you're touching something hot, you understand, okay, it's hot, I'll never touch it again. Same here, you have to develop some patterns. Next one is, well, kind of politics. So the ultimate goal of setting the priorities and choosing the compromises is to be more productive, for the team to be more productive, and for the team to stay effective under any conditions. And as I've said, the conditions are like interruptions for the team lead. There is pressure from upper management to get more things done right now. There is pressure from the team to get things done in a proper way, or maybe to try, I don't know, to spend time on experimenting with some new technology to try to understand maybe it's worth it, maybe it will give us some value. So you have to be able to work in these conditions where you have constant push from upper management, from the team, but you have to be choosing what to do, not because of the amount of push. Like a QA guy can be really forcing everyone to increase the quality from, I don't know, 95%, let's say, to 99%. We don't need 99%, 95% will do. But if he's forcing people enough, some people will actually fall into this and will be increasing the quality for no value, for no reason. So you have to work in a different way, regardless of the amount of push you have from every team or from managers, from anyone. You have to be thinking rationally and applying, I don't know, proper prioritization, not because of the amount of push you have, but because of the thoughts you have and the strategy you have. And as you have much more responsibility now, you get the feedback. Like, if your team is not productive, it's your fault. If your team member is rude to some other team member, it's your fault. If a developer leaves and you have less, let's say, resources now, you can deploy less, it's your fault. But with this, of course, if the team is succeeding, you get the reward as well, because essentially it's your job to maintain the productivity and to help everyone to improve. And there will always be risks and benefits, but the interesting thing is hard questions. I honestly can't imagine what happens if business tells me, okay, we're cutting the costs, we're firing half of the team. What would I do if I had to choose whom to fire? To me, it would be the hardest question. I had this once long ago, not in Badu. It was really hard, even though the guy knew that he wasn't performing good enough and that he wasn't changing fast enough to improve. But it's very hard. And if you are an empathetic person, it's going to be even harder because, well, you like the people whom you work with. They deliver, they are good, and you still have to do something with this. But if you still have these hard questions, what to do? The only idea that I have that I think would work is to build the trust in the team and the transparency in the team. So if you are the ultimate source of all the information coming to the team, if any team member can ask you any question, he'll get or she will get a good answer from you, a reasonable one, explaining why the business does this and that, what's the plan for this and that, it will build trust. And so if any hard decisions are made, people will at least understand why they are made. And they will understand that it's not you doing something, I don't know, because you don't like such a person, but because there are obvious cases which lead to these changes. So yeah, building trust. And there are a few types of demotivations that I personally faced, and well, you may face as well. First one, as I've said, was lack of coding. If you are a developer, I think you love coding, because why would you be a developer if you didn't? And if you go to a team lead position, you won't have enough time for coding. You won't have time for experimenting with new technologies. You won't have time to even be like 1/5 productive of what you were before as a developer. And you will lose your skills. That's very bad process, but what can you do? Like, you're going to be losing skills. In a few years, you're going to forget lots of things just because you don't practice them. And another demotivation that I have personally is that you can't improve quickly. You can't get results straight away. When you start doing it, you want to get all the results right now. As a developer, it's very, very easy. You see the ticket, you see the task or a project. You can work more hours, or you can be smarter in something, and you can get it done. You get the result. With this position, it's much harder. You have to think about strategy and motivation. With motivation, things won't change within a month. You can't. There is no silver bullet like, okay, I'm giving this guy this type of motivation, money or conference attendance or something else, and he'll be happy and he'll change his mind just right now. It's going to be a huge process, a gradual process. And milestones for team leads are much bigger and much harder to achieve. And of course, demotivations are always there, but there will always be motivations. Otherwise, why would anyone choose this position? Well, as you, I think, have guessed, my main motivation was challenge. So with all the lacks of knowledge, skills, certainty, time, and everything, it's the hardest challenge. You have to be productive with all this situation. You have to be motivated by challenge to actually love this job, I think. And to me, it was the biggest challenge I've ever met in my career. I don't know if it's going to match your motivations, but that's what worked for me. And with challenge motivation, you will get good growth. Because if you're not, well, again, if I'm not challenged, I won't grow. Why would I go out of my comfort zone if I'm not challenged? And the last motivation, which is quite separate from challenge and growth, is becoming a role model. If you're a parent, I think you understand what I mean how joyful it is to see your kid adopting something, some traits from you. I know, behaving in a certain way, following your advice, or even copying you when she or he is small. And it's somewhat similar to this position, because you're helping your team to grow, you're helping your team members to grow, you're showing them where you want the team to grow, and they are growing if you actually support them in everything. So you're becoming like a role model. You're showing where we're going, you're showing how you would do it, and the people follow you, which is really, really nice to have. And of course, with all the negative things, there's always something really, really good. So to me, one of the wins that I have in this position is to get happy people and great results. So there are two different opposite, I would say, types of team leads that you can witness in some projects. One can be really soft and nice person, really soft, really good guy or girl. And in this, with such a person, a team will be really relaxed. Everyone will like him. He's going to be a very good guy for everyone. But the results will be not that good. Just because he won't try to force people to do something, try to lead people to do something, try to motivate people to get out of their comfort zone. If he's not getting out of his own comfort zone, why would anyone do that? Why would anyone want to change if he's not changing, just sitting there enjoying the time in the office with colleagues? And on the other side, you can have a totalitarian, let's say, team lead who's trying to squeeze as much juice from all the developers as possible, hurting the atmosphere by this and maybe making developers more productive, but losing the team concept. So it's going to be a set of individual developers. Some of them will be demotivated, some will leave the company or change the position, but it will be a set of individual developers. And if you have a huge project that the whole team just has to work on, the communication and atmosphere will not allow them to be productive together if it's not built, if it's not supported. So you should find some balance between. You can't be very soft and you can't be totalitarian. You have to find some balance how to work with motivation for each individual, and you have to guide each individual to achieving more results and to become better and to help them grow. And then what you get is what I get is constant feedback from all other teams and management that our team is the best in terms of atmosphere and one of the best in terms of results. So this is really satisfying. And the results. So 1 year here in Badu as a team lead, and here are some results. We had 200 product features backlog. It's now gone. We were delivering, 1 year ago, we were deploying 1 or even less features a week. We were deploying twice a week or even less times. Now we're deploying every day. Got rid of this backlog. We had a huge project of transferring Android 2.3 users and Windows Phone users from an old crappy web Java-based application to our new and shiny HTML5 web app. We had lots of other technical projects, experiments. We launched lots of A/B tests. We are really flexible. We can work much faster than we worked before. The team grew from 4 developers to 11. We're still maintaining the same atmosphere. If you know Cristiano, you can ask him, he won't lie. So the atmosphere is really good. We focus on people and transparency. We focus on productivity as well. So I think we are maintaining a good balance here. And we work hard and we play hard. Here's Cristiano. So recap, it's very different role. It's not necessarily a step up. I think it's a completely different role, and you might be a very good developer, but you might not be a good team lead. Maybe some of the things that I shared, maybe they will help you understand if it's for you or not for you. You will have lots of uncertainties. You will have to accept it. You will have to accept that you lack knowledge, skills, well, at least when you start, knowledge, skills. You will always lack time. You will have this thing to deal with. It's going to be a very different process, completely different process, completely different mindset. You will have to switch between contexts quickly. You will have to maintain lots of them, survive in this situation. It might be hard for certain personality types, maybe. I can't judge, I can't go into someone else's head and see how it would work for him or her, but I think that for me it works well because I have this challenge-based motivation. So that's it, I think, and thank you.